Well, good morning, or maybe it's good afternoon or good evening, depending on when you are watching this. Welcome to LifePoint Community Church. Um, I said this week that I'm going to start a series on Ecclesiastes, and this is week one. So, welcome to week one of Ecclesiastes. And those that know this book knows that it's a very, very strange book of the Bible. It kind of talks about life being meaningless. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because often and 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 um, recently, I've been hearing a lot of despair go on. There's been a lot of people that I see that quite often they might say, "What's the point of life?" Right? They might say things like, if I'm not around, who's going to miss me? And maybe you've heard something similar to that. Maybe you've heard people say, I'm better off dead, right? These are common words. And if you're honest with yourself, maybe you've even said or thought them yourself at one point in your life. Um, and it's hard. I know life is hard and things are difficult sometimes. And so I thought what I'd do this series on Ecclesiastics to kind of help us, give us some momentum, give us some hope, give us some different perspective on meaning, on life, on the meaning of life. And because I know, some of us look at the world, that we live in now, and they don't know where it's going. I had someone just the other day just saying, the state of the world, right? They're confused. They don't know what's going on. And so I thought this would be a good time to kind of reflect on the meaning of life. And what I'm doing is what I'm calling this series, I'm calling it Creating Your Rhythm of Life. And I've been studying this over the last few weeks and months about creating a rhythm, like creating a beat to our life, right? Implementing things that we need to do every day to kind of keep that momentum going, to keep the disciplines going, to keep the good habits in our lives, to keep it going. And so what we're going to be doing is looking over the next 6 weeks on how to create that rhythm in our life. But for today, what I want to do is I'm just going to read through the first two chapters of Ecclesiastes, just to give you the vibe or the essence of what this book is saying, and then maybe give you some encouragement at the end of that before we go on to um, the next few chapters in the following weeks. But as I said, this is a very strange part of the Bible. And this part of the Bible is part of the wisdom literature. Um, and this collection of diverse writings, include instructions and narrative and a dialogue and reflections. But they share a very certain distinctive characteristic. The wisdom literature, they're actually made up of the books of the Proverbs, Job, and Ecclesiastes. And they explore various facets of life. And they exhort people to live in accordance to what has been learned. So, on the contrary to this, when we read the Old Testament, it's more, it kind of employs the notion of the covenant to shape the corporate identity of Israel. But, but the wisdom literature, including Ecclesiastics, employs observations about creation to shape the personal character of the Israelites. So, according to the authors of this Jewish wisdom literature, the wisdom that really matters in life is not knowing a lot of facts or the expertise that we might have in a certain trade or a certain area. It's the moral and the social discernment, right? That is a pattern of life that's characterized by the making of good decisions. And we make good decisions out of reverence for God. Um, so it involves discernment of justice and the meaning of life. and it is cultural knowledge that's learned over time and then passed on from generation to generation. So, what I wanted to do today is just read through the first two chapters just to set the foundation of what this book is saying, and then in the future weeks, in the coming weeks, we're going to dive deeper into into what this writer is saying to us in the book of Ecclesiastes. So let me just start there. Let me just read for you the first two chapters. This is what it says. So it's entitled Everything is Meaningless. So the words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. Old streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which we can say, look, this is something new? It's already here, already long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. I, the teacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem. I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. I said to myself, look, I have increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. I have experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. Then I applied myself to the understanding of wisdom and also of madness and folly. But I learned to is but I learned that this too is a chasing after the wind. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. I said to myself, come now, I will test you with pleasures to find out what is good. But that also proved to be meaningless. Laughter, I said, is madness. And what does pleasure accomplish? I tried cheering myself up with wine and embracing folly, my mind still guiding me with wisdom. I wanted to see what was good for people to do under the heavens during the few days of their lives. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself, planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs for water groves of flourishing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had other slaves who were born in my house. I also owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I amassed silver and gold for myself and the treasures of kings and provinces. I acquired male and female singers and a harem as well, the delights of a man's heart. I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me, and all of this my wisdom stayed with me. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labor, and this was the reward for all my turmoil. Yet, when I surveyed all that my hands had done, and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. Then I turned my thoughts to consider wisdom, and also madness and folly. What more can the king's successor do than what has already been done? I saw that wisdom is better than folly, just as light is better than darkness. The wise have eyes in their heads, while the fool walks in the darkness. But I came to realize that the same fate overtakes them both. Then I said to myself, the fate of the fool will overtake me also. What then do I gain by being wise? I said to myself, this too is meaningless. For the wise, like the fool, will not be long remembered. The days have already come when both have been forgotten. Like the fool, the wise too must die. So I hated life, because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me. All of it is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. I hated all things I had toiled for under the sun, because I must leave them to the one who comes after me. And who knows whether that person will be wise or foolish? Yet they will have control over all the fruits of my toil, into which I have poured my effort and skill under the sun. This too is meaningless. So my heart began to despair over all the toilsome labor under the sun. For a person may labor with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, and then they must leave all that they own to another who has not toiled for it. This too is meaningless and a great misfortune. What do people get for all the toil and anxious striving with which they labor under the sun? All their days, their work is grief and pain. Even at night, their minds do not rest. This too is meaningless. Wow. Like when you read that, what do you think? It's discouraging, right? Because we're actually taught the opposite to this. We're taught in the Bible that life has meaning and purpose, that it is meaningful. Yet this writer, who, by the way, let's just go back to the beginning here. The writer calls himself a teacher, the teacher, not our teacher, the teacher, right? So it's someone who is versed in biblical mindset, right? This is a teacher who would have known Genesis. This is a teacher that would have been conversant in the writings of Moses, right? This teacher knows what the Bible says and what the Bible means. Therefore, you would expect that what this book says is going to be, going to be in line with what the rest of the Bible would say. But here we are, listening to this teacher who is saying that everything is meaningless, not just the bad things in life, but he's saying the prosperity, the blessing, the good things in life also has no meaning. So the Hebrew word here for meaningless is hevel. So it's kind of like a vapor, right? A vapor that is present one moment and then gone the next. So mist would be hevel, right? Fog would be hevel. We understand those things. But this writer is saying that everything is hevel, right? The fact that you're in love, the fact that you're in debt, the fact that you have a happy home, the fact that you have an unhappy home, right? The fact that everything is going well, The fact that everything's going terrible. All of it is evil, right? But what this writer is saying when he says, "What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun?" And he says that multiple times throughout this reading. This, of course, is a rhetorical question. And about 10% of the book is rhetorical questions. And as he's asking and as he's wondering and as he's thinking about life, he's inviting us to ask and wonder and think about life. So here's the question for you. Every day you do things. These things are the sum of your life. You work hard, you clean the house, you take care of the kitchen, you take care of the children, you keep the customers happy, you do the best that you can to make the most of what you've been given. But at the end of the day, what's the point? So what I want to leave you with here today, we're just getting started in this series, but what the bottom line here of what we've read today is that life is not worth the effort. Everything that you are so busy doing is not worth the effort. There is nothing about your life that is good or bad, sad or happy, that matters. It is all meaningless. One day you will be dead and long forgotten. It is all evil. Now, having said that, what we can take home from this message from this ancient strange sounding book is the very fact that life has no meaning. It actually gives life an extraordinary meaning. Let me say that again in slightly a different way. Because life has no meaning, that therefore means that every moment of every day is packed full of meaning. Those of you who have gone through cancer understand this point. All of a sudden, it hits you that life is amazing and every moment of it is to be appreciated and enjoyed. And the awareness of the improbability gives you a way to process the inherent meaninglessness of our existence. Most of life is vapor management, and you have a choice. You can live as though life was a gift that you have already received, or you can live as though life is something that you'll get when you do a certain achievement or acquire a certain product. There will come a day when we won't be here. And so while we are here, we should enjoy the company of our family and the comforts of our home. There will come a day when we won't be able to have a coffee with our friends or feel the sting of the winter upon our skin. There will come a day when the pleasures and the possibilities of life and the love leave us. But that day is not today. Today we live. Let us all therefore decide to live by embracing the impermanence of our existence. And in doing so, let us find the enchantments of each moment. So your homework this week is to bring awareness to every moment that the day is coming when you will not have moments such as these. And then just see if that coffee doesn't taste better, or if the food does not become more satisfying, and if your heart does not become more glad. Take time to think about this. Take time to understand that the very fact that a life has no meaning actually has meaning for us. I look forward to talking to you more about this next week. Take care.